Another thing a friend told me is when she read books, she realized something. It's not about how much you read. So in the beginning, she was like, I read all these audiobooks or I read all these books, but she didn't get depth of understanding. You know what I'm saying? That's another thing I'm realizing a lot too. A lot of people, they just do the motion, but they're not getting depth of understanding. And then she realized it's better to read like 3 or 4 pages and actually get depth of understanding. Not only understand what they're talking about, but really understand and see it from their perspective than to just read 30 pages and I've read it. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that do that. The whole, I'm going to read 50 pages and they don't really get depth of understanding. But it's
No, it's all
better.
superficial.
Yes, sir.
That's one of the blessings of having a little bit of ADHD for me is that I didn't notice that as a kid is that I had to read stuff 3 or 4 times, and everybody else is speeding through the books, they're running through it, but having to read it 3 or 4 times to really grasp it, to understand what you're doing, even if it's not something that you're doing that you're trying to not pay attention, it's just hard for you to, is that you really get that. Yeah, you're not going to speed through the book. Yeah, you're probably going to be late on your assignment, um, but your understanding of the concept is going to be there. If you have to reread and reread and reread, because your mind is eventually going to put it all together. But we don't judge on that. I mean, we don't grade people on. We're supposed to grade people on the understanding of the concepts. But a lot of the times, it's regurgitating of the events
Right.
within the book itself. And I mean, that's one of those like educational issues that I run into is that they don't care that you understand the concept. They just care that you pass the test. And that's that knowledge versus wisdom battle, raging on within us. So, well,
So I'm not gonna
yeah.
say his. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, man. I'm done.
I'm not gonna say his last name, but this is so fucking prevalent in our life. Is Kevin from our ACES class when we were studying
Mm-hmm.
mortgages and getting our license? I remember this. He went to our instructor. Remember our instructor during that time for ACES? He went up to
Mm-hmm.
her and he was trying to ask her more questions to get the bigger picture and understanding of the mortgage market and the laws, right? And he went up to her and he was like, "So, how does RESPA work and how does all this work?" And she said that. She said, "Just memorize it." She was actually annoyed. She was like, "Don't overthink it. Just memorize it." But what's so funny that Kevin, I remember we ate after this. Kevin said, "I don't fucking learn like that. I have to see the big picture and I have to see how all these connect together or I can't memorize it that good." But she wasn't like that. She was the type that she just memorized exactly what they told her. She didn't try to like put the pieces together and see how it all makes big picture sense. That's so funny. That's why we're all like, yo, she ain't a really good instructor.
She was not the smartest person in the room. I honestly got that vibe from her like a couple of days in. I'm just like, she is here just to show us how to get through this test. That's it. But
She did the
and then
job.
you ask a lot of the most successful guys that we work next to, and a lot of them don't understand any of that. They're good at one thing. They're good at selling, and that's it. They bring it in and they leave it to somebody else. That's I mean, it works for them in this scenario, but if for any reason they have to leave, for a reason they have to be on their own, I mean, that's a tough life to have right there. But yeah, I hated
She
that.
got
You
she
know,
got the job done, bro. All right.
he did.
It's isn't it kind of like how you said in grade school, high school, teach us all the information, and then by the time the test goes, just regurgitate, spit it out, and it's like, did we actually learn? Or did we just learn the information for enough time to be able to say, hey, we know it good enough to pass the test?
Yeah. But I try to learn big picture so that when I'm speaking to clients and customers, I can teach that to them so they understand, so they trust me better. So next, it says, "Do not forsake wisdom." This is deep. Do not forsake wisdom. How do you forsake wisdom? By hearing it and it sounds good, but the very way you forsake it is unbelief or not practicing it. So it's unbelief or not practicing it. And forsaking it is not living by it. And it's crazy because psychology says this. When you learn something, practice it immediately. Immediately. Because the more you hear it and you don't practice it, you start to become numb. Your brain starts to become numb. So when you hear it again and then you hear it again, a lot of times it's like, yeah, I know, but that motivation and drive to put it into action gets lost. You're not as motivated as much when you hear it again for the 7th time, the 8th time, the same thing. So it's said in these books, when you hear information, knowledge, wisdom for the first time, figure out how to practice and implement in your life as quick as possible, multiple times as possible. So it starts to ingrain in your brain, and that energy of drive, passion, motivation stays there to continue.
It's actually really deep. I appreciate you saying that. I just wrote that down. It's going to inspire me the next time I hear something, not to just, oh, that sounds like a good thing I would like to do eventually. No, as soon as you learn it, it's being applied immediately.
I love you, bro. All right, so yeah, it says psychology says that it's actually worse to listen to wisdom and not apply it. It's worse. Better off to not have heard it.